Well, we are officially coming up on 1 year of renting out my luxurious cabin up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and needless to say, I think this is going to be my favorite investment ever. What's up, guys? My name is McKeown. I'm a licensed real estate agent and investor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Used to be Orlando, but I'm kind of moving out of that market and just simply doing real estate here in Texas. But this video is actually going to be about an investment property I purchased in 2017 with my VA loan as my very first investment property. And if you've been following my journey, you know what that is. It's a duplex in the North Dallas region area that I bought for under $300,000 in 2017. But I was lucky and fortunate enough to kind of buy at a good time in my market, which a lot of people, if you bought in 2017, did plenty well enough if you decided to sell in the last couple of years, which is exactly what I did. I sold in 2022 and made about $300,000 in capital gains. But the good part there is I didn't pay any capital gains. I used a 1031 exchange and I rolled that into a construction loan to have this beautiful cabin located in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Now, over the course of the year of 2022, I detailed kind of the entire process, all the ups and downs. Obviously, with real estate transactions, nothing ever goes seamlessly. There were a couple hiccups. I wound up actually having to use all of my 1031 exchange funds, even though I technically only applied 200 of the 300,000 into a 1031 account. Yes, that means the leftover, which was about $100,000, I paid capital gains on, even though I wound up using it as a down payment as well. But needless to say, there was a ton of ups and downs over the course of this entire process. But for about the last 11 months, this Tipsy Bear cabin in Broken Bow, Oklahoma has been an absolute cash cow. Now, the reason I'm not making this video is for people to go out and buy a cabin in Broken Bow and absolutely saturate the market any more than it already is saturated. I'm telling you guys, there are a ton of people that I know that are not making the type of money I'm making with their cabin in Broken Bow, but there's a handful of reasons why I am making the money that I am making. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, $200,000 in gross rental income is really what I have made with my cabin since I started renting it out about the middle of June 2023. Now, I'm not going to go over the entire expense sheet when it comes to my actual cabin itself, but I'm going to give you a couple key aspects, a couple key things that I've learned over the course of investing in a, I guess, larger investment property, as well as a short-term rental, and what I would suggest you do if maybe you come to a point in your life where, hey, I have an investment property and I'm considering leveraging a little bit further and buying a more expensive property, or maybe buying an expensive property that's going to be a short-term rental. But one thing I will tell you guys, with the $200,000 in gross rental income, I'm probably looking at about $60,000 to $70,000 in profit. Now, obviously, that is going to be taxed upon, but I have other rental properties that I'm putting money into, as well as buying additional rental properties that will essentially offset that income that I'm earning here in 2024. So really, at the end of the year for 2024, my rentals in sense don't earn any income because all the losses offset any of the profit, even though Tipsy Bear, or my cabin itself, is the most by far profitable investment property that I have. The other properties are going to weigh it down a little bit, especially one property that is not generating any income right now, to help relieve some of that tax burden. But a couple of things that I have learned when it comes to short-term rentals and investing further in real estate, because again, if you've watched me for quite a few years on this channel, there's been a lot of things that I've essentially learned. Meaning, when I started filming content on this YouTube channel, I was about 3 years into investing into real estate. I am now about 7 or 8 years into investing in real estate, and I'm still learning new things every single week. However, above and beyond anything else that I probably learned from investing in real estate was a couple things that happened in 2023, and that really resulted in me not paying the IRS whatsoever for the year of 2023. And just to give a little bit of clarity here, guys, I earned about $1.2 million in total earned income in 2023, but I didn't have to pay the IRS any money whatsoever. Now, that may make you super curious, and to be honest with you, if you would have told me when I started investing in real estate that I could have done this, because again, it's not something that I knew when I first started investing in real estate. It's something that I learned simply last year. Well, I'll give you a breakdown on what exactly happened. And a majority of my income, just to break down here for you guys, is either going to be real estate commissions or a secondary source within the state of real estate as itself, or my real estate investment properties, meaning those are going to be kind of my two different buckets of earned income. Well, my real estate company is quite profitable, meaning majority of the taxes that I typically pay, and I paid well over six figures in 2022, is being paid because of how profitable my real estate company is. Now, on the other side of things, my real estate investment properties, depending on the calendar year, may make me a little bit of money, may lose me a little bit of money, depending on the particular property. But last year in itself, I had a significant expense on one of my properties, meaning I had to redo the plumbing and redo the entire garage floor and driveway, running me about $30,000 to $40,000 for that total expense. And then my cabin. My cabin, as I discussed earlier in this video, needed to be furnished. And we're talking about a cabin that's 3,500 square feet with about 2,000 or 2,500 square feet of patio out back. And we're talking furnishing not just with the intention to save a buck here and save a buck there. This is a cabin that's valued at about $1.5 million. And in order to continue to rent, I need to kind of put in a pretty penny in order for the thing to continue to rent long term. So when you include all of the furnishings that I had, which include about a $10,000 hot tub, a $30,000 pool spa, about $30,000 in upgrades to basically add a bedroom and an entire loft for my cabin to be able to sleep more, and then just your standard furnishings. We've got 4 master suites, multiple different bunk beds, tables, so on and so forth. It starts to add up relatively quickly. And then you also add on all of the expenses that I incurred really from the date that I started renting this thing out till the end of the year. I took on about a $270,000 loss. Yes, you heard that right. $270,000 loss plus the $30,000 or $40,000 loss from my other investment property. And again, my investment properties as a whole, and I tell people this all the time, investing in real estate is the long game, meaning don't buy a property with the intent to make $10,000 the first year. Okay, don't buy a standalone single family home with the intention to make $20,000 the first year. It's a slow and steady race, and I'm telling you guys, it will be worth it if you stick around for the long game. So going back to that large expense, I've got almost $300,000 in expenses coming from my cabin. I've got some other expenses from other rental properties, and needless to say, if you include all of my investment properties with the income, plus all the expenses, taxes, insurance, so on and so forth, as well as upkeep, I was at a pretty significant loss for the year of 2023. Again, my cabin was really only renting for about 5.5 months as well, so the income is substantially lower than what it's going to be in 2024. So I'm sitting here with about a $300,000 loss. Well, that $300,000 loss can continue to be pushed over to the next year and the following year and the following year. So essentially, unless I have a pretty significant gain, which I'm gonna have a decent gain in 2024, but certainly not $300,000 profit gain, that can continue to be pushed forward and offset any income that I do earn. Well guys, there is also a couple tax strategies that I was able to use to leverage that large expense to actually offset my real estate income. Yes, you heard that right. The income that I lost on my investment properties is now going to offset the income that I earned as a real estate professional. Also, another comment that I forgot to make in regards to that pretty large expense that I'm taking on my cabin, I did do a cost segregation study, and that cost segregation study is essentially going to, rather than depreciate a lot of the cabin over the course of 30 or 40 years, it's going to depreciate the cabin a ton in that first year, meaning 2023. Also, I was able to depreciate some of the building costs when I was building the cabin from 2022 that I didn't file for my taxes in 2022, and again included that for my 2023 tax year. So when you take all of that into consideration and that large lump sum of a loss, because I was able to qualify for what they call your real estate professional designation status, I was able to utilize that, which is a tax code, and there's a lot of stipulations with that, so make sure you do your research. But because I spent so much time on Tipsy Bear, because I was able to qualify for that designation, I was able to take the losses from my cabin and offset about $300,000 to $350,000 in net profit, meaning income that I would have otherwise be taxed on as a real estate agent. And essentially at the end of the day for 2023, not owe the IRS a single penny. Now that may have been a ton to be able to comprehend in one single swoop, so I'm gonna try to break it down even further beyond what I just mentioned to you guys. Again, the losses from my rental property, and because it was a short-term rental, and honestly guys, there are a ton of stipulations that require you to be met in order to do this. And again, as a clarification here, when I first started investing in real estate, this is not something that I was actually even aware of. It was not something that I was kind of searching for or hoping to kind of hit. It just so happened that because I had an investment property that was a short-term rental, I had to qualify solely on the short-term rental itself, meaning all of the time and effort that I spent on my other investment properties don't necessarily quantify here. I've got to be able to qualify with my cabin alone, and I did. I was able to use all of the losses for 2023, which was substantial because, again, I was finishing up the cabin and furnishing it, to offset the large amount of income that my real estate business and just me being a real estate agent made in 2023. Now, if you do have any detailed questions about that, I can probably give you some surface level explanations or respond to you on Instagram or respond to any of the comments in the comment section down below. This is not something that you're gonna be able to probably do right out the gate. There's a ton of risk obviously involved with these larger investment properties, but needless to say, this channel started by educating people on investing in real estate. And I'm telling you guys, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I am continuing to learn each and every day, each and every week, and each and every month and year, new things that a lot of these people that own $100 million, $1 billion in real estate, whatever it may be, a lot of these people are taking advantage of opportunities that just honestly people aren't aware of. Now, obviously, I'm not on the scale of any large time investor. My portfolio at this point is about $6 million. By the time I build my dream home, if we're including net value of my dream home, we're sitting on about $8 million. So I should be hitting 10 million probably in the next couple years, but I'm not by any means an investor that owns $100 million, $250 million in real estate, where we start to see this not just once in a year. This is something that people take advantage of on multiple different properties, multiple times a year, to be able to eliminate as much as their taxable burden as possible. But let's get back to the cabin itself. Now, the cabin itself, as I mentioned earlier, is my favorite at this point investment property. It saved me over 6 figures in essentially tax owed for 2023. So needless to say, all of the money I set aside for 2023 for taxes is getting pushed either into an investment or into taxes that I'm going to owe for 2024. One thing I can tell you, after paying 6 figures in 2022 for taxes, the least fun thing that I've ever done in my life is write a check bigger than I've ever written and have it go to the IRS. I would love that check to go anywhere else but to the IRS, but needless to say, 2023 was a much happier year when it comes to taxes owed. But again, going back to the cabin itself, it does require a lot more work than my long-term rentals. I've got one long-term rental that I essentially only hear from a tenant once a month, and that's when he pays me my rent. I think he's been there for about 1.5 years, maybe close to 2 years on a 3-year lease, and I think I've had to repair one item. Other than that, it's very, very simple when it comes to long-term rentals. So this cabin definitely needs my attention daily, if maybe every other day, depending on what is needed with the cabin and what kind of damages people do to the cabin. There's obviously been normal wear and tear over the course of the last year. That's gonna be standard really with any type of rental as well. Now, one thing I will clarify when it came to owning that duplex that was under 300K to purchasing a property valued at about 1.5 now, when you step up in investments, it's essentially leveraging yourself further, meaning you're taking out a larger note. And we all know if you take out a larger note, that means a larger mortgage payment, meaning my mortgage payment, which was between $2,000 and $3,000 with my duplex, is no longer, that beautiful VA loan at 3% interest rate. Now I've upgraded to a $1.5 million property with about $1 million or $900,000 loan, and that loan is almost 8%, meaning my total monthly payment is almost $8,500. Now, I would love for interest rates, and I hope that they do, to come down, but I'm still making an exceptional amount of profit, even though my mortgage payment is $8,500 a month, because there are certain months throughout the year where I'm earning $20,000, $25,000, almost $30,000 in rent in 1 month. And this is honestly a conversation I have with a ton of investors, both new and investors that have a decent sized portfolio. It really comes down to where you're comfortable risking. If you're comfortable leveraging yourself a little bit further, or leveraging yourself a little bit more, you're likely going to get a better return. If I would have just kept my duplex and I could have been happy with my duplex, I would have had far less debt in my name, and I would have had a lot less, I guess, stress, you could say, in terms of paying a $2,500 a month mortgage versus paying an $8,500 a month mortgage. But again, I also wouldn't have the significant appreciation over time with my cabin on a $1.5 million home versus a $300,000 duplex. And I also certainly wouldn't be earning the type of income that I'm earning now with a cabin that I would be with my small duplex. So that's about all I have for you guys this week. A little bit of an informal video to kind of give you an update on what Tipsy Bear, or my luxury cabin up in Broken Bow, has done over the course of the last 11 or 12 months. And I can also tell you guys, I've been fortunate enough to be able to take my fiance and my family to the cabin last summer, as well as a most recent trip with my fiance again and her family and friends. And it's a cabin that we're going to be able to continue to use maybe a couple times a year and really raise our future family in, which at the end of the day, if you can use an investment property to pay for essentially a very high-end luxury living property, it's the way to go. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help. And stay tuned for the next video.